this designer electric candle looks cool. It has this touch sensor, the 3 levels of brightness. It'll have a 10-hour battery life at the brightest level. And the only real downside in my mind is that every so often the touch sensor goes wonky and stops responding to touch events. And the only way I've found reliably to kind of reset this is just take a USB plug and plug it in, unplug it to reset things. Also, it costs $60. This is a kind of designer LED candle lamp. And it comes in gold, silver, white, or black. This is the black version. I was given this to review for free. It normally costs you $60. So $60 for an LED light seems quite large to me, but it is a designer light. So we're going to evaluate it that. Keep that in mind. So in the box you have some instructions, and one side here is in English. You get a USB-A to USB-C charging cable, and then there's the table lamp itself. And so this table lamp feels heavy, definitely, you know, kind of metal. It has a rubber pad on the bottom, and there is a USB-C charging port here. It has a little ring to pick it up. So this is styled like a stylized candle, and there's a little loop of metal at the top here, which acts as a capacitive touch on off. And as I say that, it's not working, but I've had it work in the past. So it seemed to take a little time to warm up to have that thing work. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but now it's working just fine when I'm touching it. So I could hold the base and touch, and it lights up. Don't hold the base and touch, and it lights up. So this is how it's supposed to work. Touch once, and it turns on. Well, now it's not doing it again. Let me try holding the base. Alright, so the capacitive touch sensor seems to be just a little touchy. I found that if you hold the base with one hand, that seems to make it work better. Also, tapping with one finger seems to be working now. Sometimes it wasn't working, and so I had to actually pinch with both fingers to make a better connection. But when it works the way it's supposed to, you touch once, it lights to the lowest setting, again to the medium setting, again to the highest setting, and again to go off. So that's the full functionality of this. It's a light. It's a warm white light, almost orange light here. And it disperses or diffuses out through this plastic thing on the top. It's not a fake candle. It's definitely stylized as to look like a candle with a candle holder, but it's not a fake flame or anything like that. It's obviously not a candle. It's a designer candle. And that might be why it has such a high cost. So appearance-wise, it looks really nice. It feels like solid metal. There is a little gap or connection point where this tube obviously screwed into the base, and the base there, the tube is just slightly wider than the base. You can feel it kind of goes up just slightly there. And for something that's a designer candle, that seems like a design flaw to me. If you're going to all the effort to make this thing look fancy and nice and charging money for that, it seems like this joint should be smoother, because there is kind of a discontinuation there where it kind of bounces up and just out, just, you know, a quarter, maybe a half a millimeter. It's small, and it's not terribly noticeable, but it is there. There's also, you know, this ring here, and they need to separate this ring out for the censoring, different from the rest of the metal here, but they do have a little plastic ring on the bottom. That plastic ring doesn't light up or glow. It's just there as insulation material. So that is what you get. I am going to plug it in, charge it fully up, and then turn it on at the brightest setting, and we will see how long it'll go on a single charge. So this guy has a USB-C port for the incoming charge connection, and it includes a USB-A to C cable. I want to see, will it charge from a USB-C power delivery source? So does it correctly do power delivery negotiation? And unfortunately the answer is no. So we have a quite expensive designer light here that will not charge from your fancy phone charger cable. You must have a cable that has a USB-A to USB-C connection, so it just does a regular 5 volts in. And if you plug that type of cable in, it is charging here. It's currently drawing 0.8 amps, so it's drawing 3.8 watts. So you will need to use the provided USB-A to C cable if you want to charge this thing. You cannot use just any generic power delivery charger on this. And, I'm willing to, if you have a $5 flashlight and it requires, it won't work with USB-C power delivery, that's fine. But when you have something expensive like this, you'd really like any USB-C cable to plug in and charge it. And it could be used as a desk lamp, just permanently plugged in. It is drawing current while the light is lit up, and so I'm assuming that it would be able to just glow indefinitely if you left it plugged in all the time. So it's drawing about 3.46 watts. When I turn the light all the way up, that draw goes up to 3.9 watts. So, we're talking in the 0.5 watt range for this LED at its brightest setting. So this is an ambient light, kind of an accent light, maybe walk into the bathroom at night type of light. It's not a super powerful flashlight. All right, this guy is fully charged. It's taking 0 amps. Okay, it is 1:52 p.m. I have turned the candle on to the brightest setting. We have the time-lapse camera going, and we will see how long it lasts. Well, it's almost 11 o'clock at night, and this little candle's doing pretty well. It might be slightly dimmer now. It's hard to tell. I'm going to let it go overnight, and we'll see what happens. All right, it's 7:19 a.m. the next day, and this light is still lit. I'm pretty sure it's gotten dimmer over time. Okay, it is 2:15 p.m. the next day, so this has been 24 hours. I'm going to end this test now because this light is definitely a lot dimmer than it was before. So it's still working, or I should say it's lit up, but the capacitive touch sensor, there it went. It seems to go into some type of sleep mode where the capacitive touch sensor gets less sensitive, probably a power saving thing. But once you light it up once, then it, well, I said it was going to work. There it goes. So there's the super dim, medium, and bright. And the bright is about as dim as the dim was before. So it does still produce light, but it definitely has gone down significantly here. So looking at the time lapse, this candle was bright for a full 11 hours, and then in between 11 and 12 hours it pretty much dimmed down to kind of a low level. And then it's been at this low level for another 12 hours or a little bit, maybe 13 hours. So I'm going to say that your life for your bright candle here is about 11 to 12 hours, and then after that you have a long run time with a very dim light. So I ran this candle all the way down. It still had a little dim light, but it was pretty much out. And I've plugged it in, and right now it is charging at a very low rate. It's 0.09 amp, so less than half a watt charging rate. I suspect this is because the battery is so low. And once it gets that battery up a little bit, it's probably going to be charging at a faster rate. So I'm going to come back and check on it in 30 minutes or so and see what the charging rate is when it's near empty, but not actually empty. Alright, now this guy is charging at a more reasonable rate. So it's going at 0.8 amps, which is basically the 4 watt rate. and I am keeping track of how much power is going in. Alright, this guy is fully charged, and it accepted 1500 milliamp hours or 7 watt hours. So the battery in here is probably something like 6.5 watt hours of capacity. So as a designer product, I think this guy's hit the mark. It really feels like carrying around a candle. Obviously it doesn't have a flickering flame, but it's, you know, the kind of the abstract feel of carrying around a candle. Now as a flashlight, it's not terribly functional. It's a little uncomfortable to hold like this through the ring. It's really something I think you carry from room to room, but most of the time it sits on a table. So at this price point, it feels extremely expensive to me, but then I'm not the type of person who pays a lot for designer goods. But it is pretty darn cool, and I'm glad I'm reviewing it. One inexplicable thing about this is the touch control. Some of the time it works perfectly. You just tap it and it changes modes and turns on and off. Other times I have trouble, like I'll be grabbing it and trying to move it, and it just won't work at all. And I can't figure out what the difference is between the different times. You know, I just don't know. It feels like a ghost that's making it work sometimes, making it work not. Obviously on the camera here, everything's working perfectly the way it's supposed to. But I've had several times when I try to turn it on or turn it off where it just won't respond to touches for a while, and then suddenly it starts responding again.